Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Just letting you all come into the room and join us here. Thank you for being here today. I'm very excited to be able to share with you all about Profit First as a Service. I would love to just let you know that I want to hear from you in the chat. And if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, I will be answering questions in a Q&A section within this webinar. So please use the Q&A function so that we can make sure that we do not miss any of your questions. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions, comments in the chat, go for it. I'm just going to give it one more minute to let everyone sort of join us and make sure that you can see and hear me. If you don't mind, just let me know in the comments if all is good your end. That would be amazing. All right, great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All good. All right, well, let's get started because I don't want to take any more time because I know time is precious, and I'd love to go through what Profit First is as a service that generates revenue and return on investment, specifically for bookkeepers. And so before we get started, though, I would love to know, who are you? So where are you from? Where are you joining from? What do you love to do? I'd love to know in the comments. For those just entering, I want to know where you're zooming in from today and what brought you here. Where are you from? Brisbane. If you're from Brisbane, Auckland, New Zealand, Hunter Valley, Love Advisory. Me too. Melbourne, Sydney, so great. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Swan Hill, budgeting, forecasting. Beautiful. Well, welcome. Sydney, Love Advisory and listen to the book. Amazing. Well, even if you haven't listened or read the book, you're going to learn all about Profit First today. So let's get into it. I speak to a lot of bookkeepers, and I am one myself. And do you know what? The one thing that I know about bookkeepers to be true is that we really, really care. So who here can actually relate to that? And so who here wants to be the support to your clients in a meaningful way? I'd love to know in the comments. Unfortunately, though, the reality of being a bookkeeper these days, and I'm sure many of you can relate, is that the feeling of being worn down, frustrated, constant sort of deadlines that are happening for us, juggle, client calls, deadlines, not enough money coming in for all of the work that you seem to be doing. So I'd love to know if these things are true for you. And I'd also love to know how many of you have clients that have cash flow problems. How many get the look of shock when you tell them what you're seeing in their business, or when they get their BAS bill and they're like, how is it even that much? Can't you do something about it? That was something I got a lot. And how many of you just try to help them but feel like you're not getting through to them? I know that that was definitely the case for me when I was doing all sorts of bookkeeping for my clients. The next thing that I found is the time that it was taking. So how much time is it taking you to keep up with all the industry changes and the legislation? Are you finding that you're right back in the weeds again, rather than wanting to move more into the advisory space or add more meaningful work to what you're doing? I'd love to know in the comments. I've also heard, and a number of bookkeepers who contact me to let me know that they feel like they're freaking overworked and underpaid, and it's time for us to change that. So what if, as a Profit First professional, you could actually charge for the value-added services and know that this methodology can decrease the failure rate of businesses? So the failure rate of businesses is astounding, and I'm sure all of you here today know this, but implementing Profit First or even a cash flow methodology actually decreases the failure rate of businesses, and in turn means that you are able to be the go-to person for your clients. And the reason being is because you're able to pinpoint and educate your clients about what's actually going on from a meaningful perspective, utilizing their human behavior and getting out, making that difference in the day-to-day. I want to start by explaining the 80-20 rule. And so I would love to know if any of you here know this Pareto principle. And this is where 80% of what we do is really, 20% of the outcomes are from 80%. So how many of you doing 80% of the work and only getting 20% of the outcome you desire? I know I was there when I was really working in my bookkeeping business, and I had a lot of clients and they were struggling. And I felt like all I was doing was working harder and harder and yet not seeing the outcomes myself. Whereas if you concentrate on 20%, that top 20% to get 80% of the outcomes, it makes such a difference. And this is really what Profit First does. The other thing is that it's simple. It's simple for your clients to understand. And, I'm going to share what Profit First is, how certification works, some examples of how bookkeepers use Profit First as a service offering, and how this can work for you. Before we do, I just want to take 1 second to explain who I am and why I'm coming to you today. So I actually run multiple businesses and I'm a mum of 2 boys. And the biggest thing for me is that I wanted to make an impact in my clients' businesses whilst keeping my personal interests and the lifestyle at the forefront. And so I have been striving and continue to strive to create businesses that work for me and not me for it, because I certainly found myself there. I actually, my baby business, which I've now gone on to sell, is Adroit Business Solutions, and this is a bookkeeping business. And I was very much, had great clients, but was working long hours, having constant conversation with clients, and all of the things that I outlined earlier, I was feeling. I heard about Profit First through the book and some online groups that I was a part of. And do you know what? I actually thought that it was too good to be true. And so the reason why I actually signed up as a Profit First professional, and not many people know this, is because I was such a skeptic that I wanted to see if I could break the system. True story. For those of you that probably don't want the long story, it actually worked. And I couldn't break the system, and the changes that I made in my clients' lives were amazing, which actually has led me to become the CEO of Profit First Professionals Australia and New Zealand. I said yes, and now I'm the one that trains accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches so that they can make the impact in their businesses and their clients' businesses. Because the one thing about being a Profit First professional is that you need to walk the talk as well as help others. So let's jump into the main principles of Profit First and what Profit First is. How many of you here feel like you know Profit First really well? Are there any in the room that haven't really got too deep into it? Either way, I think you're going to get a lot out of it. So let's talk about the General Accepted Accounting Principle, or GAAP. This is a broken formula. Why? Because this formula is sales minus expenses equals profit, which means that we're leaving profit as an afterthought. And do you know why it makes such a difference to flip this formula? I know that a lot of you will probably think, yeah, because it means that a person can concentrate on profit. And yes, it does, but it's actually more to do with the primacy effect. The primacy effect is, it basically states that the first things that we focus on, or the first things that we see, are what we focus on. So in this formula, it's natural behavior to look at, well, I need to get more sales. I need to bring in more revenue. I need to work harder. And then I need to spend to make that happen, which then means whatever's left over is the profit. And that this alone is a logical formula. It makes complete sense. And us as bookkeepers know this because we work in the profit and loss and all of those compliance things. But it absolutely ignores human behavior around numbers. The Profit First formula flips this on its head. And what we're saying is, utilizing the primacy effect, the things that we're now focusing on are, yes, you need revenue because we can't run a business without income. But what if you prioritized profit? So the profitability of what you're selling, knowing what the revenue goal is that you need to have the cash profit in your bank account, and then whatever's left over is what you have to spend on running your business, paying your taxes, and yourself. So as I said, what you see or do first is what the focus is. And if profit doesn't sit too well with you, because I know some people, especially if they work in the not-for-profit space, think, well, profit isn't really something. Well, purpose is. And the only way you can have purpose is by having enough profit to make that impact. So utilizing this formula, though, it opens a business owner's brain into creative thinking and wealth creation mode. And the most important thing to note is that Profit First doesn't change our habits. It leverages them. Who here checks their bank account to make decisions? I'd love to know. So if you could pop it in the comments, or who here has that client that goes, let me just check my bank account. It is natural human behavior to do so. I can see a number of yeses there. Absolutely. And what we tend to do is get a person to stop something and concentrate on something else, or learn something that feels overwhelming for them. And with Profit First, you don't have to, because you are not needing to change the habit of checking bank accounts to make decisions. You're leveraging them. And really, it's based on behavior. And so I want to talk to you for a second about Parkinson's law. This is another principle of Profit First. And Parkinson's law states that whatever resources you have available to you are the resources that you will utilize. So it's often spoken about in relation to time. So I know that if I'm given a deadline of 2 weeks, you bet I'm going to take that whole 2 weeks to get things done. And it seems like a never-ending task. That is Parkinson's law at work. The same applies for if you get an urgent client call where it's like, actually, I need it within a day. You somehow manage to do it. It's the same thing. It's Parkinson's law. And so it also applies to our money. And this is why people overspend, because they have one bank account. And if there's a lot of money, and when I say a lot of money, it depends on the business and what is a lot of money to someone. But whatever money they have available in that bank account, you bet they're going to spend it all, because it's Parkinson's law. And so what Profit First does is split it out. It's all about portion size. And so I'm a bit of a foodie, and I'm going to relate some of this to food so that, you know, we can think of it in different ways. And I find that this works really well for my clients. But who here, when you go to the buffet, you overeat? I'm going to put my hand up. I do. Whereas if I'm wanting to, you know, make sure that I'm eating and enjoying myself, but utilizing a smaller plate, I'm not going to overeat. The same applies for the multiple bank accounts. If you have one bank account, it's just like a buffet. It's like, hey, this big invoice landed. I can go do whatever I want now. Versus going, yes, the big invoice landed, but how are we going to distribute that into the multiple bank accounts? And then you see, oh, well, actually, only a small portion of that can go towards operating expenses. And so it's really important to just understand why that is such a critical principle of Profit First. The next thing to know is that the allocation order is everything. So on this screen, and again, I've stuck with plates, you can see here, and these percentages are based on a $0 to $25,000 turnover business, that our main plate or main bank account is our income account. This is where all of our money and revenue comes in from our clients and customers. The first allocation then goes to profit, because if we're utilizing the Profit First formula, it's sales minus profit. And so we're going to put our profit aside. The reason why the allocation is so important is, one, it's leveraging a habit. It's creating micro habits that is saying to the business owner or whoever's doing this that this is important and becomes a focus. The next thing is to then pay the owner. So 50% of what comes in goes to the owner, because at this level, 0 to 25,000, the owner wears multiple hats and does all of the things. And then we've got the tax allocation. And then our last allocation is actually expenses. And again, the reason being is that we can then clearly see what is left over to run our business. And I tell you what, if there's not enough money in there, you become pretty creative and make changes very quickly. And so I've just put the percentages here for you based on this. So 5% to profit, 50% to owner's pay, 15% to tax, and 30% to expenses. And again, these are just the general bank accounts. As a Profit First professional, you learn, one, how to look at the business and what they need in terms of bank accounts and percentages, and that everyone's a bit different. And two, that these are a guide. And as you learn and train and experience things with your clients, you'll notice what sort of changes you can make. And so this is what it looks like in their bank account, in their, online banking. The multiple bank accounts, they can see pretty clearly what is what. There's that amount sitting in their income account. They can't touch that because that needs to be distributed out, and what they have and what the purpose is for each account, which seems simple, but it is life-changing for people. The other thing that Profit First does is removes temptation. So I'm one of those people where if I see an account that has a certain amount of money, and I think it comes back to, and this is my background, I'm all into the money mindset. So take what I say or leave it if it's not your thing. But I find that I have a certain threshold for, oh, now I've got lots of money in here. What can I spend it on? And that's not a helpful thing for me, because then from that point, I go, okay, well, I'll spend it on this shiny object, or I'll reinvest in this thing that if there wasn't that amount of money in the bank account, that really isn't mine, because normally it's tax that people are looking at. You make bad decisions. And so the idea being that Profit First segregates or moves, transfers money out of sight, especially for tax and profit accounts. You're moving it from bank one, where you're looking and making your decisions every day, to bank two. And the final, but probably most important part and principle of Profit First is the implementation rhythm. So the biggest complaint I hear from bookkeepers is, Profit First is so messy and it creates so much bookkeeping. You bet it does, when the person isn't implementing it properly, where they haven't got the right percentages, where they're moving their money around because they're, taking money from this, borrowing from this account and to pay that thing, and doing it, but in way more accounts. And most of the time it's because they have not implemented a rhythm. And so it's very important to implement Profit First with a rhythm, whether that is weekly because payroll's weekly, or fortnightly or monthly, or every Friday, or the 10th and 25th is what it states in the book. The reason why is that you get to see the cycles of the business. Most businesses have highs and lows, apart from those that have recurring revenue. And that means that there will be lower seasons where the money isn't necessarily sitting there. Or if you suddenly run out of money in the bank account, you can make a quick decision. And if you're moving money around all the time and you haven't implemented a rhythm, then you're going to miss out on these flags that are telling the person that something is wrong or something needs to change. If it's done properly, it actually should not create any more bookkeeping work. The other thing to note, and what you learn as a Profit First professional, is that Profit First is actually really flexible. And that is because it's based on percentages. And what you really understand as you go through the training is that you are working with your clients to not just move away from their challenges, but to achieve their goals. And so if a person's focus is to get out of debt, then you can modify the Profit First implementation so that that is the focus first, and then it changes to something else. And this leads me to the fact that a lot of the time where things go wrong and what people don't understand is that they just go gung-ho and do it all and go for 20% profit because that's what they want, and then it all falls over. It's really important to roll out Profit First, and that it can be a staged approach where you work towards your target allocation percentages. The other thing that we need to touch on is the quarterly profit allocation. So each distribution, you're sending money to the profit account. In the example that I've gone through today, it's 5%. That accumulates, and then each quarter there's a distribution. One, to go to the owner, and two, to create a vault, so a buffer for the rainy day, because things go wrong inevitably at some stage, and we hope it never happens, but it usually does. And so having some of the profit put aside will mean that if the worst was to happen, you have funds there. And we do recommend 3 to 6 months worth of profit, dollars sitting in the profit account that will cover expenses and continue to pay the owner. The third thing within the profit account is that it is a debt buster. You can use the debt snowball methodology from the profit account. So any debt you're paying, the minimum amount or whatever the payment plan is from your operating expenses, and then once a quarter, you can take a lump sum from the profit account and put it onto the debt. And it is absolutely amazing how quickly people can pay off their debt with this, and it's part of the training. The other thing is that it's a journey. It's not a cookie cutter, set and forget, walk away, you're done, bye. It is actually a what's happening in your business. Is it working? What's your focus now? Do we need to change it? Which leads to increased client lifetime value to you as a bookkeeper and longevity as the advisor. And so what we have here, and what I want to share with you from the Profit First implementation that we've seen, is that we have seen people go from paying themselves below the minimum wage to their desired wage within 6 to 12 months. And these are actual PFPs too. They've increased their revenue by 50% by highlighting pricing issues through the Profit First assessment. Because pretty quickly when you do a Profit First assessment, you can see if there is no meat in what they're charging for, because there's no money to distribute anywhere. Other people have paid off $150,000 worth of debt in 18 months. Others have been able to travel with their family each year, which before was not a thing that they could do. And knowing what money they had available to them allowed them to see what they could afford in terms of support and team. And it also, other people have eliminated ATO debt within 12 months. And so it really does make a difference. And what I find is that the challenges that come up for bookkeepers, or the questions that come up, are, well, what does a Profit First offering actually look like for a bookkeeper, and what can I charge for it, and how does this fit into my existing model, and how will my existing clients get excited about Profit First, or what about the time to actually get certified and learn something new and roll it out as a service to clients, as well as return on investment. So that's what I'm going to answer today. And I'm really going to talk to you specifically about how it works as a service offering as a bookkeeper. So let's go back to time again, because I know that that's our most precious resource, and it's a limited resource, especially when we're bogged down and in the weeds. And so I'm going to talk to you about numerous ways or possibilities that you can implement Profit First as a service with what you're already doing. So you don't actually have to do more, but you can integrate it with what you're already doing. So the first thing is, let's just make a rule. No more free meetings. An advisor doesn't just provide reports, doesn't just complete compliance. What they do is they explain things to their clients and they answer questions. And so interestingly enough, majority of bookkeepers are already advisors, but they don't realize it, or they're not charging for it. And being a Profit First professional really stops this. So the first example I'm going to give you is, well, how many here do Xero or QBO? You pick your accounting system, setups and training. I'd love to know in the comments. So think about it. You're setting up a Xero or an accounting software, and you're doing the setup and training. Have any of you considered that you could be doing a Xero setup training and cash flow Profit First implementation all at once? Because the general reason that someone is doing this is that they've either changed from sole trader to company, or have started a new business, or something has changed and they need to do things differently. And it's the perfect and prime opportunity for you as a Profit First professional to integrate this. You're already selling that, people already need it. And so by saying, well, great, we can do this, and I'll give you the Profit First blueprint, which will allow you to see exactly how you can be moving forward to move away from challenges, implement your goals, whatever it is. And as part of the setup and training, we can implement all of the bank accounts within Xero, and we can do our Profit First allocations together. You're already doing a lot of these things. It's a great opener, and it's an easy way to sell Profit First without selling. It's really a service. It helps them, and it allows you to charge way more than what you're charging at the moment. So I do this in my business, and the minimum that we charge for this is $1,500 plus GST, and it goes up depending on complexity. The other thing that I want you to consider are your existing clients. So think about the top clients that you spend time supporting to a big extent. If you were to insert Profit First into potentially the reporting that you're doing, or looking at it from that lens, or being able to do an assessment and say, hey, this is what the reports are saying, this is what you're telling me, and here's what we can do to change things in your business. They already trust you. They already know you. They already know that you've got their back. It's not a difficult step or a big leap for them to lean further into making these changes. The ways that you can introduce this as well, because that's often where I hear, well, how do I introduce it to my existing clients? If you've had a client and they're coming up to their annual, another year with you, you could implement a strategy where it's like, you're entitled to a one-on-one with me where we look at your business, and I will give you a snapshot or an assessment, call it what you want, where you'll be able to see exactly what's happening in your business. 80% of my clients take that up, and then from there it opens the conversation for Profit First if they're not already doing it. The other thing is at the time when someone's like, oh, I don't have the money for BAS, I need a payment plan. Perfect opportunity to talk about how they never have to be in that situation again. And this then means that you can be in more of the management advisory offerings area. You can set up specific packages for them to help them achieve their goals or quash their challenges. Or you can offer a one-off session as well. So there's a lot of things that you can be doing with your existing clients without creating this whole other beast. The other thing to consider is new clients. So how many people come to you needing a bookkeeper because they've either not done anything for a long time and need a catch up, or a way to get out of where they're at? I'd love to know that. Or how many of you have people come to you say, well, I need a bookkeeper and I just don't understand money, or it doesn't feel easy. I just need someone to support me. This is where many PFPs offer their bookkeeping and Profit First services intertwined. You can't have one without the other, so that they can freely give the support and advisory and peace of mind to their client whilst doing their bookkeeping as well. It includes the Profit First rollout and implementation, and it can also allow you to stay in your zone of genius. So if you're someone who loves systems, well, the systems side plus Profit First with the bookkeeping works really nicely together. If you're more into cash flow, and a lot of you said that you're here because you love budgeting and cash flow, this fits in perfectly with that. So you don't have to do something new. You can integrate it with what you're already doing. So I hope this gives you some ideas around that. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is that 57% of our leads that come to our website alone are looking for bookkeeping and Profit First. That's a lot of business owners wanting support. And I'd like to say that you're in the right place if you're a bookkeeper who has an established business with active clients, you're looking for new ways to assist your clients with proven results, and you have a genuine desire to help your clients become more profitable, pay themselves, stabilize cash flow. And Profit First will really, really help you with that. The next part of what I want to talk you through is what does it mean to become a Profit First professional, and what is this training? Let's start with the fact that we certify our Profit First professionals, because I'm sure all of you here today know how much damage can be created when a person isn't supported properly. And so it's our absolute priority to ensure that all PFPs have rigorous training and understand the Profit First methodology and feel comfortable and confident to roll it out with their businesses. And so part of that is by going through some training, which is in our online portal. And then there's some how-tos around doing assessments, case studies, implementing it yourself, and an exam that you need to pass. But I will say this, it's only the start. People get so fixated on the certification, and yes, it's super important, and we want to ensure that all PFPs know what they're doing. But being a Profit First professional is so much more than your certification. we have such a breadth of knowledge within our community that approach Profit First from different insights, experience, and all of that. And so it really is more than just certification. We have resources, we have marketing, we have an amazing team that can help you wherever you're at in business. And if there are any PFPs on this call, and I don't know if there are, I'd love you to share in the comments if this rings true for you at all. So it's in 3 parts of the certification I'm talking about. The first is you have to implement it in your own business. So I said at the beginning that we want people to not just talk about the theory, we want you to walk the talk. And so our priority is to help you be as profitable as possible. And when I first did the implementation in my own business, I thought I was okay in terms of my finances. And I hear this a lot from people that enter into the community. And it is, well, I thought I was actually all right until you implement it. And there's so many little levers and tweaks that you can make. Absolutely. And that what seemed good can actually be great. And I became way more profitable and I made better decisions. The next part of the certification is that you need to implement it with 2 beta clients. So what does this mean? This is basically where you choose 2 clients that you know could implement Profit First in their business and make a difference. And I'd love to know if you can think of a client or 2 that you think that this could really change their world. And the point is that you run through what you've learned. So you've done the training, you've implemented it in your own business, and now you're being guided to implement it in someone else's business. And you don't just do it on your own. We've got Profit First guides there to help you integrate it, feel comfortable and confident in rolling it out, as well as open offices where you can come and discuss, hear from other people too. And then the third part of it is really, how does this fit? We want you to integrate this into your business offering already. We want to make it easier for you and not harder. And so we have the tools so that you can, and the resources so that you can take them, tweak them, and then make them your own so that there's an integration into your business rather than reinventing the wheel. And then there's an exam. So by the time you get to the exam, and I know that whenever I say the word exam, people are like, oh no, don't take me back to study. There is a 90% pass rate, but I haven't seen someone yet that hasn't passed, because you've got this by the time you do it. And you will pass with flying colours. The other thing to note about being a PFP is that what you learn as part of your certification is actually teachable and scalable. We have PFPs where their staff are doing a lot of the background work, completing the assessments, setting up, doing the more of the things, and then they come in and have the conversations with their clients. It is scalable so that you don't have to work harder to get results for your clients. And the other thing is that it's a differentiator. So being a Profit First professional means that you talk about things in a different way, and it helps you to differentiate yourself from the sea of bookkeepers that are out there. So I'd love to give you an example. So Katie is a bookkeeper, and she's also a mastery level PFP. She first came to Profit First with her bookkeeping business. She wasn't in love with her business and she wasn't having fun, which is actually a top value for her. She also didn't really want to be doing the bookkeeping anymore and was in search of a better way to help her clients. So her clients are tradies, and she went on to write the Profit First for Tradies book. And what she ended up doing was she integrated Profit First into her own bookkeeping business and then started a separate Profit First business as well. And so any new bookkeeping clients that come in, she's actually not regularly working on their stuff anymore. She has staff, but she comes in and advises for them. She works with very limited one-on-ones because, again, what she's working towards is having more time, but still having that impact. And she's chosen to work mainly in a group coaching environment. She's let me know that I can share with you that it's actually extremely profitable for her to do this because it costs her hardly anything to deliver. And her one-on-one client fees cover her fees to be certified and her mastery level fees from her 12-week intensive, where she charges $16,500. And she delivers Profit First on behalf of other business coaches and does many podcasts and interviews and has a Facebook group. And this is her way of doing it. because that's what suited her. The world is your oyster in terms of you can make it as simple or as big as you want it to be, and Profit First can be implemented in a varying degree. I also wanted to share some of the revenue results for PFPs globally. And that is, there was a 21% increase in year one. By the time people get to year 5 as a PFP, you can see what kind of increase there is compared to remaining as a non-PFP. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, and another example of a PFP, is Najma Khan. So Najma started her business from scratch. She was a bookkeeping business and knew from day one that she wanted to be a PFP. And so immediately her offering was never to offer Profit First as standalone, and she has an integrated bookkeeping and Profit First offering. This allowed her to increase her prices. She now works with less clients, but for more money. And her income has progressively increased since then and continues to do that. And what it's allowed her to do is work on her business and personal growth. So she's been invited to do presentations and workshops and podcasts. It's boosted her confidence. This was someone who wouldn't turn on a camera or speak up at the beginning because there was just a lack of, well, I want to really help my clients, but how can I do it? And so now she's able to confidently talk about and teach Profit First. And one of the things that she does with her profit is build wells. And so for her, her main value and her reason for being a Profit First professional was the impact and to give back. So as you can see, 2 very different people. And that's the thing. It's going to be dependent on you and your business and what you want to do. And that's why the third part of the certification, where it's looking at, well, how does this integrate, is so important. And so you've got 2 sort of options at this stage. You'll know by now whether this is something that would help your clients or not. And so you can stay as you are and doing the things you can do, or you can look at how you can help your clients further. And the one thing that I wanted to say is that being a Profit First professional is not for everyone, and that's totally okay. We want people that are the right fit and where this is really going to get the impact and return on investment for them. And so we're looking for members that are proactive, care about the mission of eradicating that entrepreneurial poverty, collaborative, because our community is absolutely collaborative. There is no competition and everyone shares. Willing to learn and share themselves, be open-minded because we're working with behavior. And you want to be profitable too, because you can't be a Profit First professional if you don't feel like you can be profitable. And if you're wanting to work in a way that serves you and your clients and see this, then that's a great opportunity. So I'd love to know, can you see yourself as a PFP? There'll be a poll popping up in a second. So ask that again. Can you see yourself as a PFP? And just a reminder that if you have any questions at all, to pop them into the Q&A area so that we can answer them, answer those questions at the Q&A section. Awesome. I can see that a lot of you can see yourselves as PFPs. That's really great. So let me tell you a little bit about what you need to know. So certification itself, and we'll do that in a second. I'm just going to allow for this poll to close. Thanks, Bill, for your question. I'm actually going to get to that right now. Beautiful. Okay. So what you need to know. Certification usually takes 3 to 6 months. The reason being is, again, if you're implementing it in your own business, you want to see some of those changes. If you're implementing it in someone else, it is a journey. But you can implement it pretty quickly because we have lots of support for you. The certification includes an exam that requires a 90% or more pass rate. And again, as I stated before, you have to have it implemented in your business and 2 beta clients. So one of the questions that we get is, well, what's the pricing? So we've got a tiered pricing model, as you can see on the screen. In the first year, it's either $9,900 or $990 per month. Year 2, it drops down to $7,700 or $770, year 3, and year 4 plus. The reason why we've gone for this is that the first couple of years are really quite intensive around what you're doing and the support that you need. So you get opportunities to have one-on-one calls, to attend all the group calls, the resources. And again, I have not really done it justice in terms of resources. We have marketing resources, calculators, how-tos, case studies, presentations, anything that is basically needed is definitely available to you. And we also recognize that as time goes on, we want you to have more and more of a return on investment. So we've decided to give back in that way. So a lot of this, when people see the price, they're kind of like, oh my goodness, this is all AUD or New Zealand dollars. So if you are in New Zealand, it will be the equivalent in New Zealand dollars. So 9,900 New Zealand or Australian 9,900, just to make it really easy for everyone. I would love you to consider what you've spent $10,000 on in your business and whether you got that return on investment. And my challenge to you is to look at your top 10% of clients who would likely sign up with some of the offerings that I shared today. And what would this do for your business, for your revenue, and for your profitability? I also wanted to let you know that there are bonuses if you were to join in September. So at the moment, we are open for membership, and membership opens twice a year only. We are open from now until the end of November, and then we don't open again until March 2024. So if this is something that you're wanting to have up and running, to have new service offerings for 2024, I really highly recommend having a conversation with us and considering it. You'll also get a bonus one-on-one strategy session with me so that we can build Profit First as a service in your business. The other thing is that we've got our ProfitCon, which is our annual conference in Perth in October, where you will get early bird pricing that's actually no longer available if you sign up in September. So there's two things that you can do. If you're interested to know more and want to have a one-on-one conversation with someone to have more of your questions answered, or want to just really dive a bit deeper as to how this fits your business, then feel free, and I know that Michelle's dropped the links in the chat as well, to book a Q&A call. And we're not pushy, we're not salesy. This is literally to just answer your questions around whether or not this would be a good solution for you and your business. The other option is if you're ready to apply, book an interview. We do interview every person that wants to become a Profit First professional because, as I said, we want to ensure that you get the most out of what you're investing in, that you have the right business for being a PFP and the impact that you can have in your clients. And so if you could jump on, scan the QR code, or click on the link to book that application interview. And look, if at the end of it you find that it's not a fit, there are no problems. We would much rather have someone know, yes or no, and we can kind of go from there. So why am I sharing this with you? I honestly believe that this is a perfect addition. So majority of our PFPs are bookkeepers. So you're going to be in great company and you're already on the ground with your clients. And so I really see Profit First as the perfect offering. And I've also live and breathe it. So I can say that honestly. Some of the benefits of being a PFP and joining our community is that you're not just a community of Australia and New Zealand. You get access to the international Profit First professionals. They do things differently to us. You get one-on-one calls. So we have a great team. We have Michelle, who you can see here in the comments. She is our absolute expert when it comes to marketing and branding. And we know that this is a big stumbling block for a lot of bookkeepers. And so if you have questions around marketing or branding, or you're wanting some more support, Michelle's your go-to. We have another guide, Najma, who is amazing when it comes to the technical side of Profit First and how to do an assessment, or is this making sense? How can I talk to my client? She is your go-to. And then we have Aisha. So if you're finding that it's your confidence that's holding you back, or you need to hatch a plan that's a bit more, I guess, accountability, then Aisha can absolutely help with that. We have an amazing community. And the number one feedback that we get from all PFPs is that they're shocked at the community that they get. There are open offices every week where you can come and ask your questions, learn from others. We also have content pieces where it's an extension of learning from what you've learned in the university. We also have events. You get a directory on our website, so because we have a number of people looking for PFPs, and we, of course, help you with your marketing as a PFP as well. So now I want to give us an opportunity to talk about and answer any questions that you might have. So I have a couple of questions here. So feel free to put it either in the Q&A or into the chat. And if you're not wanting it to go publicly, feel free to message me directly. One of the questions is, well, when does certification start? Certification starts as soon as you sign up. It is at your own pace and you get instant access to the university to do it. And another question that we have here is, what if I have other bookkeepers on the team? So, and I'm assuming what we mean by that is, how can they get access? So we have two options here. You can be the main person getting certified, and that's not a problem. You go through the certification. We can still give you access to your staff, or your staff can gain access to the university to look at the resources, to learn for themselves, but you'll be responsible for training them in whatever way you want them to help you with Profit First. And that's included in your annual fee. It's no additional cost for that. The other option is, let's say you would like to have someone else to become certified and get access to all of the support that you get access to as a certified Profit First professional, and that would be at 50% of the fee for every person after you that would like to do that. I have outlined the investment in terms of costs, and in terms of time, we find that if you can dedicate 2 hours a week to this, a minimum of 2 hours, and that is attending an open office call, you will see that there are absolute changes that you can have the certification done and the help your clients. The more time you can put into it and the more active you can be by attending the calls and getting the support, the faster you're going to see this change for you. Now, do you have many accountants and tax agents as a PFP? Yes, we do. We have probably about 35% of our community that are accountants and tax agents, and this is a Profit First for Bookkeepers specific webinar. We do have an accounting one coming up, so if you are an accountant, feel free to join us there, because I speak specifically to how it works. But yes, we have a mix of bookkeepers, accountants, tax agents, and business coaches in our community. Does Profit First work with personal finances? It absolutely does. So what you learn in Profit First for Business is the same that you will, you'll be able to transfer that knowledge into personal finances. Another question that we have here is, does Profit First count towards CPD as a BAS agent? It does. So all of our trainings are recognised as CPD for BAS agents. And do you need to offer bookkeeping to be a PFP, or can you just do Profit First coaching? So we have a mix, if I'm going to be completely honest. We have a mix of PFPs that want to continue to do bookkeeping and either do bookkeeping and Profit First combined, or decide to build the bookkeeping business and have other people do it and they step out of it and then create their own Profit First offering. And we have other bookkeepers that have completely decided they don't want to do bookkeeping anymore and just want to do Profit First. So really the choice is yours, and it's possible with either way, whether it's you offer bookkeeping or you don't. And I can see we've got another question here, which is the best webinar to attend for business coaches? We have a coaches specific webinar coming up. I'll get Michelle to drop the info in the comments below. The reason why we split it out is that the content around certification and Profit First and all of that is the same, but how it's offered is very different depending on what your business is. And so it's really important to know that this is a bookkeeping specific webinar, and the other webinars will talk more to the other businesses. Any other questions? Because again, I'm very happy to answer any questions that you might have in relation to how this could possibly work as a bookkeeper. Beautiful. Okay then. Well, I just want to remind you that if you join before the 30th of September, you will be able to claim the bonuses of a one-on-one strategy session and early bird pricing to ProfitCon. I can absolutely jump to the pricing again. If you haven't, Michelle, do you mind popping the membership pack link? Or if you haven't already signed up to express interest, there is a membership pack which outlines absolutely everything that you need to know, including all of the pricing. So that's definitely a possibility to look at that. And if you have any questions, including how it applies to your business, then you can book a Q&A call. And if you are ready to apply, then you can book an interview. And so I'm just going to find that pricing slide again for you. Go back here, just bear with me. There we go. There is the pricing again, if you're wondering what that is. Year 1, 9,900 or 990 per month. Year 2, 7,700 or 770, so on and so forth. Again, if you're not sure but you have questions, feel free to ask. The pricing information is definitely available in the membership pack. So book a Q&A call or an interview to apply. Otherwise, feel free to email us. You can also find us on the Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of the places. Feel free to reach out, and we look forward to welcoming some new PFPs and making that difference in the world. Thank you so much for your time. It has been great. Thank you.